Pricing is by far one of the most challenging sections for an international marketer, particularly when you start adding the international components to it, where you have currencies and risks and different perceptions of pricing and different competitors that have more clout in their foreign markets or their domestic markets. So you always have to be aware of these various changes and be ready to be flexible, as pricing is in constant flow. So definitely take your time to watch all the videos of this chapter. So what is pricing? And I like to start off with kind of a little bit an idea of pricing psychology from Richard Thaler, a Nobel economist. And this example I'm showing you comes from my students way back. The responses. So imagine you're lying on a beach on a hot day, and it's all you can think of in the last hour is how much you would like a nice cold drink, whether it's a beer or soda. It's up to you. Your companion needs to make a call, and he asks or she asks you to bring back a beer from the nearby place where a beer is sold. In the first case, we say it's a fancy hotel. And I ask all the students, how much are you willing to pay for a beer from a fancy hotel? I get prices from $7, $25, $10, $12, quite high. And then I ask the same group of students, well, what if it was the same exact beer that was your favorite beer, same place, but instead you could buy it at a shack? How much are you willing to pay? And the prices inevitably go lower. According to Richard Thaler's research, it was the same exact outcomes. And so, where do you want to be when you're the person selling the beer? Do you want to be at the luxury fancy hotel, or do you want to be on the store shelf of a shack store? So you have to think about where you want to be. Factors that affect pricing. There are 3 essential areas that you have to start with: firm level factors, the market specific factors, and product specific factors. In the firm level factors, you want to be sensitive to your price strategies, your objectives, the competitive pressures that are mounted against you in the market, price and firm cost structure. You want to be worried about what your goals are, but at the same time what your cost structures allow you to perform. Like you may be at an operating level where you cannot lower the price anymore. You've maximized your efficiencies for the knowledge you have in manufacturing, let's say, soy sauce. Kikkoman cannot go any lower than that price that they sell it at. So the cost of producing your product, the shipping, the transportation costs. So these things combine at the firm level. But the market can affect you as well. I think transportation costs can be market driven too. But you have consumers' willingness and ability to buy, different habits, consumer tastes and preferences, substitutes that are available, the local competition and price cutting pressures, say for example that foreign protections like subsidies, government involvement, inflation, say that the currency is is fluctuating higher than it used to, or is not as amicable as you'd like it for remuneration, and the distribution channels, your middle people that you have to deal with. Yes, middle people is a big deal. Definitely remember that in previous chapters. And do not mess with the middleman process of foreign markets just because it's the American thing to do, to want to cut costs or cut the middleman. And also you have to consider gray marketing, and I'll go into that a little bit more. Then you also finally have product-specific factors: demand, price, and the product life cycle, and the product line and the price there. Demand will differ from different markets. How much people are willing to partake in a product. Price in the product life cycle. Is it somewhere that's growing and it's brand new, as we saw with Boston Consulting Group? It's a star or a question mark. Or is it just a cash cow and you got to make every penny you can? Price and product line. The product line, is, for example, you have Apple products. You have the cell phone, the headphones, the computers, iPods, if anybody's still buying those. The whole product line itself. Or subsequent product lines, iPhone 12, 13, or PlayStation, and then PlayStation 5, product line extensions. We'll go into market skimming penetration later in strategies. I think it's too early. Gray markets. It's important to understand gray markets from a couple perspectives. Gray markets is this idea that things that are under the radar, like what used to be called black markets, illegal activities or illicit activities, drugs, clothes, software, smartphones, tech, and other tech, and bootleg movies are some of the most common areas you'll find it. Ways around it is exclusive distribution, control of your distribution channel, exclusive distribution saying it's only sold at specific stores, like Nike will not sell on Amazon, restricting supply, or even technology. Salvador Ferragamo shoes have RFID chips in it. And your ultimate, hopefully you prevented gray marketing, but you could also use the court and legal systems. Gray marketing has a very challenging component you have to be careful with. Gray marketing happens where the U.S. manufacturer buys from a buyer X, but we don't know the buyer X is going to the freight forwarder. It doesn't always involve a U.S. manufacturer. Imagine the buyer's American going to another buyer, middle person, who uses a freight forwarder to help bring products in, doesn't really need that, but the freight forwarder is in tandem with a manufacturer in a foreign market where they falsify paperwork and distribute products abroad. Or you're stuck with what I've seen before, a golden sample, where you're seeing this beautiful product, you think you're going to get something good, and what ends up coming is things that are mismatched, terrible quality, it's not right sizing standards, it's just complete junk. And you got 200 stores now having to deal with something you thought was going to be the golden sample, look like the golden sample. So be careful with that. Gray markets also have a fine line, and I want to address this carefully. When you buy, say for example, your Levi's jeans, and you sell Levi's jeans in Italy for 60 euros, and you sell them in Austria for 80 euros, could I go to Italy, buy the Levi's jeans from the store, and go to Austria and sell them? In initial thought, you would say, no, that's not right, because you stole and you're now doing a gray market. Well, it's called the exhaustion of rights. I now own those pair of jeans. Levi's doesn't. And what I do with them next is entirely up to me. And I could go to Austria and sell them for 70 euros, undercutting the price and make a small profit. And that's allowed. I've exhausted, I have a right to this ownership. And so gray marketing in the tech and software areas have a whole industry called digital rights management, DRM. For example, when you go to Apple Music Store and you buy Apple Music, you don't own those songs. Or when you go to Kindle Library and you buy those books on library, you don't buy those books from their library. You don't own those. When you go get a subscription from Microsoft Office, because you don't buy the software, you don't own that right. So that's where digital rights management keeps control over the ownership of the software or the technology that's protected, so that the consumer like you and I cannot take it and go to other markets and give it, like, BearShare or Napper Share or Napper or other pirating sites. You don't own that and you cannot share that. So digital rights management has been a great mechanism to protect products. So that's just a little nutshell of gray marketing. Be careful that falsifying paperwork. Another thing you have to deal with is making sure that human rights violations aren't happening at these factories if you're looking at abroad. So you go abroad, they might say they have X workers, but they actually have more workers and they're not paying them well. Or they're sourcing workers from North Korea, or they're sourcing materials that are created in manufactured in North Korea. That happens more often in retail than you imagine. I will share that Deutsche Welle link. I implore you to watch it. You'll be surprised what products are coming out of China factories, northern China, that are actually coming from North Korea. And we have a trade embargo on North Korea, and so we should not be even getting materials or labor from that market. And so I've seen it. I've seen the Deutsche Welle video, but I've also been involved in a situation like that, and I cannot disclose those details. But quite fascinating. So be careful. Gray marketing for software, you want to own it's about ownership, and then you got to worry about exhaustion of rights. Also, you got to worry about paperwork and validity of paperwork. So please check the validity and certification of paperwork, and also worry about U.S. Embargo and trade laws when it deals with when worrying about gray markets. And finally, remember the three specific factors: firm-specific, market-specific, and product-specific factors that affect pricing.